Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral for the Queer God Squad. Join me today and most days. Joining me are Bishop Robert Griffin and Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by hot spouts happening out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world. In 2026, we are celebrating the 41st anniversary of Hot Spots magazine with Queer News Tonight, sharing over 14,000 stories and 12 million views so far. We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
Please like and share today's story, and if you'd like to support the work of Sunshine Cathedral, visit sunshinecathedral.org.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Queer God Squad and Pope Leo opposes human trafficking. On the final day of his visit to Spanish Canary Islands in recent weeks, Pope Leo XIV delivered a stern warning to human traffickers, urging them to repent or face divine judgment. Speaking to charity workers in Tenerife, the Pope condemned those exploit migrants' desperation for profit, labeling the practice as a business built on suffering. Highlighting the dangers faced by migrant travels to Europe via the Atlantic, the Pope argued that integration is a reciprocal journey that goes beyond providing basic needs to fostering community. He warned that traffickers will eventually face divine justice for their actions. Emphasizing the sanctity of life, he declared that every death along these perilous routes represents a profound failure for the human family and challenged Catholics to remain active in providing aid.
I noticed when he's standing there holding his shepherd's staff, his crozier, it's a crucifix, right, with the corpus on it. And so this is what I think that Catholics and most Protestants, Orthodox, don't understand. That they've actually contributed to theologies of suffering. That they are venerating the execution, the death by torture of some guy. And not just some guy, but the best guy ever. And not just the best guy ever, but he had to be tortured to death so that the rest of us wouldn't just make God sick to our stomach. You know what I mean? Like, someone had to die a brutal death to make us okay. That is pathological. And there's no way you can cling to that and make God love and make people made in the divine image be loved. If we're made in the divine image and the divine requires human sacrifice, then we're going to sacrifice people. If we're made in the divine image and the divine is angry, then we're going to be cruel and angry. So yes, there was a guy named Jesus, and yes, he was executed, and yes, that was terrible. I think that's why we need Easter. Good Friday was evil, and it didn't get the last word. Easter, it shouldn't be a tortured to death body on a cross. It should be an empty tomb, which is, of course, it's a story. I don't know that bodies have ever been reanimated and walked around, but it says that what we stand for and what's important and what is true and what is real cannot be killed, right? And so this venerating an instrument of torture and a dead body and the cruelty that made that happen and attributing it to something divine, I think that is what gets in our way. I think Christianity needs to liberate itself from that. We can still love Jesus. We can still follow Jesus. We can still love the scriptures. We can still do all of those things that make us uniquely Christian. We can still have baptism and Eucharist and all those wonderful things, and not celebrate someone's execution, not celebrate torture or pain, or say that was required for us to be embraced by what is supposed to be divine love. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if we were just to see all of humanity as the children of God, if we would see the Imago Dei stamped on every single human, then such things as trafficking and unfair sentencing and slavery and forced prostitution and denying people medical care and denying people financial aid and denying people education and denying people clean water and good food. We just couldn't bear it if we really thought of every single person as being a spark of divinity floating above the big flame that is God, that is spirit. And so one, we need to recast Christianity as something that doesn't worship violence. And number two, if we're going to see every person as bearing the Imago Dei, the image of God, then let's act like it, and that will automatically change how we treat a lot of people.
Very few people talk about human trafficking. It's uncomfortable. We don't like to think about
Horrifying.
it. Exactly, particularly if we recognize that every person is part of the divine spark, is part of God, is the Imago Dei, the image of God. We don't like to talk about human trafficking. So I really applaud the Pope for bringing this up, because we need to talk about this kind of thing. We need to make people more aware of it, that this kind of thing is happening and that this kind of suffering should never, ever, ever occur.
You know, on some levels, it's hard for me to separate out slavery from human trafficking.
Well, yeah.
Because they kind of are synonymous in the same thing.
Yeah.
It was all about exploitation. It was all about
Right.
profit. It was about money, degrading people,
humanity.
and everything. And even locally, to live in an area where human trafficking is really high in Broward County,
At
Florida.
the airport, you hear it on the,
On the radio,
on the PA
system.
Be aware, report.
And, we often see commercial on TV about, what is the sign now that you can alert someone that you are being trafficking and how to handle. But it really is, it shocks me as to how much we have to be aware we are invited to be aware of the others around us, because we don't know what they're going through. We don't know if they're being trafficked. We don't know what the situation might be. And so we have to get outside of ourselves sometimes, because, just because it isn't happening to me does not mean it's happening to somebody who may be sitting in the next seat to me, or maybe in the same church that I'm in, or in the same community that I live in, or in this. And so I think, kudos to the Pope for calling it out. Kudos to the recognition behind the historical significance around what it means to venerate someone who was executed, and to look at the history of human trafficking in our world, but specifically when we bring it home, what are we doing about it locally? Because everything that happens locally also affects us globally.
But we also teach our children a lot of things that aren't necessarily good for how they're going to interact with the world. Like we teach them, do whatever an adult says. We teach them, don't argue with an adult. We teach them, you've got to respect your elders. You've got to respect authority. We tell them if you do something bad enough, you might get a spanking or slapped or, whatever, that you can be so bad that you deserve to be physically hurt. And if that's the message we're giving kids, then when people say, hey, get in my van, or you better not shout, you better not scream out, or something terrible happened to you, we need to be telling our kids, you have agency, and nobody gets to do things to your body, and don't ever get in a car with anybody, and don't be afraid to yell out for help, and the T-zone, the parts of your body that no one gets to touch, and like we need to teach our children they have agency, and they deserve to be respected, and they deserve to be safe. Now, I'm not saying that's going to deter every bad guy in the world, but also children, I think, are needlessly compliant sometimes because they've been taught to be. Adults, so you do whatever the teacher says, you do whatever the parent says, you do whatever the grandparent says, or you're going to get a spanking, or you're going to get in trouble. I remember spending most of my childhood in fear of mostly adults. One time I was at my aunt's house, and a police car drove up, and I think it was a friend of her husband's or whatever. They just stopped by to chat or whatever. And I remember hiding and telling my grandmother I was hiding. She said, why are you hiding? Because the police are out there. They take people away. Oh, no, they're the good guys. They're here to help us. I didn't realize, I didn't know they were authority. You can say no to them. And that scared me. And so I hid from the police. I think we just teach children to be scared and compliant of adults. And that gives adults an advantage over kids. Now, good people, most of us, 80% of us, 90% of us, 95% of us, that's fine. Like, we're never going to be mean to kids. But some people are.
Yeah.
And that we teach our children to be compliant and obedient and respectful and quiet, seen but not heard. I think that is taking away defenses they might have. Because if they knew to run, if they knew to say no, if they knew to yell out, some might be saved. And so, we always talk about being made in the image of God. Our children
Mm-hmm.
are made in the image of God, and they deserve to be safe, and even safe from us. They shouldn't have to worry about, am I going to live my life in a corner, or I'm going to go to bed without supper, or whatever. They shouldn't be afraid. And if they're afraid of adults, then that gives bad adults an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So treat your children as if they are gifts from God, and then also, if you see something, say something. I mean, there are people who do not have the best interests of others at heart, and who are abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And but also teach your children that they deserve to speak up. They deserve to be seen. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to be treasured. And I remember last Thanksgiving, my grandniece. I always ask. I don't just grab. I always say, "Can I hug you? Can I get a hug goodbye or whatever?" And last Thanksgiving, I asked my grandniece, "All right, I'm leaving. Can I get a hug goodbye?" And she said, "Okay, but no kiss."
All right.
All right. And so we
Okay.
did it her way. But I'm glad. I love that at 5
That's
she
good.
knows I'm in charge of what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right,
That's
no
all
kiss.
right.
Not a big kisser anyway. But she just laid down the rules. Okay, yeah, you can hug me, but no kiss. All right. I think there needs to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is mine and me, and I get to say no,
Mm-hmm.
even to people I love and trust. All
Yep.
right, but no kiss. And that's today with the Queer God Squad. Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ+ community is talking about. Please like and share this and other episodes of the Queer God Squad. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together, and also remember that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.